Grand Theft Auto 3, the series' first 3D entry, released in 2001. In that year, it sold approximately 7 million units, according to Metacritic.com. It is the second largest acclaimed out of 12,030 rated PS2 games.
Well, I've been left with skin. I hate his freaking mother. Treats me proper like a princess.
GTA 4, the sixth 3D entry of the series, the game sold over 6 million copies in its launch week. That same week, 2.3 million people played GTA 4 online. On Metacritic.com, it is the highest acclaimed video game of any platform. Released in 1997, GoldenEye 007 was the first console shooter to include a multiplayer mode, featuring 11 maps and 4-player split screen. It is sold over 8 million copies. GoldenEye, a larger successor, the Modern Warfare series, has sold over 10 times as more copies of its pioneer. Approximately 90% who have bought this series play multiplayer online. To hopefully explain how video games have surged in popularity over the past few years, we asked gamers themselves for their opinion on the subject.
Are you a hardcore or a casual gamer?
I'd say I'm an average gamer, sort of in between the two.
Hardcore game, definitely.
Well, I'm mainly a casual gamer, but there are some games I like to play hardcore just for sheer fact of I'm good at them. Casual.
Hardcore.
I would consider myself a hardcore gamer.
Would you rather be a gold medalist or a world-class gamer?
Sorry?
Pardon?
Would you rather be a gold medalist or a world-class gamer?
I'd rather be a world-class gamer than a gold medalist.
World-class gamer.
World-class.
Oh, I had to be world-class gamer.
Broadcast gamer, definitely.
How much of your game time is multiplayer?
That would depend on whether I have someone else in the room with me, but if there was, probably about a quarter of it.
Most of it.
I'd say about 20%.
About 50%. Like 60%.
Most of it.
The majority, a good 80%.
Do you think that gamers are very competitive?
By nature, I think you sort of have to be.
Yeah.
I definitely think it's
Definitely, some gamers are incredibly competitive. More so than other sports.
Yeah. Yes, especially the online shooter.
I suppose it would depend on what game you're playing. Unless you're talking about a life situation, I wouldn't say entirely yes, but yes, that makes sense.
Stuart is a video game tutor and encounters collective groups of gamers on a nearly daily basis. Adam is currently studying video game design. We asked both their opinions on the effect competition has on the game in mind and the similarities it shares with sports fans.
Do you think modern gamers are very competitive?
Very competitive, yeah.
Modern gamers, yeah, I do actually. I think we're all. Yes, it's primary schools. No, I have a very big frustration level at primary schools, like sports day. I grew up in a generation where sports day was you win or you lose, and now it sort of seems to be a little bit about we all take part. And I think that life isn't like that. Life is competitive, so I've always been competitive, and I think that it's good to see competitiveness within from gaming. I think it's very, very healthy. You know, just top score, who's working the best. It's very. I think it's healthy. It's healthy to have competition.
Do you think games fans and sports fans share a similar level of passion?
I think gamers have a vast more passion than sports fans.
Yeah, it's different because, to be honest, sports fans I tend to find they generally play games a little bit, like say Sunday League football, but the fans themselves are very focused on that team. With gaming, it's obviously the difference is you tend to be the team.
The competitiveness of video games can be far, larger than sports. You get so many, say you're playing on Xbox, you get people screaming down the mics, even when they die or when they win even, and you really don't get that to the level of when you're watching TV on the old tips, football or tennis or whatever.
You don't watch a computer game in the sense that you would watch a football game and share that experience. I could never really imagine sitting down with a load of beers and watching a video, unless it was obviously cut really well and supposed to be entertaining. But it wouldn't have that same kind of essence of watching a football game with all cameras to say on one particular spot. Although saying that, I watched FIFA yesterday and I enjoyed watching the actual game and watching people sort of play it. But I think that the difference is one is obviously sports fans, they tend to have that kind of passive viewing, I suppose, of watching the game, whereas the game fans tend to be the ones involved in the game and the ones actually participating in it. But that level of competitiveness, I think, is equal. It's a very healthy balance between the two.
Do you think in the future world-class gamers will have the same level of popularity like sports personalities, like a Rooney and a Hammond and all that?
That's quite a hard one. No, I don't think they will, to be honest. Some people really block out gaming as like an art form and a storytelling platform. So no, I don't think they will.
Once again, I think it depends on. There's a lot of vanity into all of this, and I think professional gamers will have more cult status within a group of people. I mean, obviously, Fatality is one of the classics that the professional gamers made. Obviously, I don't know whatever his first name is, but he was making loads of money years ago, and I think that if you're in the gaming circle, you would have heard of some professional gamers, but 9 times out of 10 you won't, because usually they're an avatar. They're somebody that's, I'm Blagger, for essentially. In a game, I'm not Stuart Dodd, the sports celebrity hero. I'm Blagger, an avatar. So I think you're more famous for your avatar and your username than you are a real person. And I think that will be where the difference is. It might change. I mean. I think it's in South Korea or China, around that sort of area. There's obviously a lot more competitive world-class games, and we are becoming more celebrities out there. But over in the Western audience, it's still relatively new. Yeah, but you never know. 10, 15 years down the line, it might alter.
A new report has found that 7 out of 10 UK households play video games. 30% play every week.
Yeah.
Is it possible that gaming could rival or even take over football as its nation's favourite pastime?
I think probably even that figure of 7 out of 10, I think the reality is probably 7 out of 10, that statistics comes from how many consoles, PCs, how many online stuff comes from a household. You need to think about gaming as a whole from... if you take video gaming as a whole, you've got your home consoles, you've got your PC, you've got your iPhones, you've got your smartphones. As far as I'm concerned, my kids have toys which have very simple, basic. They've got like a Starshoot that looks like a miniature laptop, which has a high point scoring game on it. They're playing games on that. So actually, I think probably the figure is higher. And if you think about the idea of playing games is something that we've been doing all of our lives, whether it's a video game through to a board game through to just simple hide and seek, there's that essence of gaming and entertaining ourselves. I think that it will be something that grows. I mean, I grew up with just sound of gaming, and video gaming came into that. But I've been in video gaming since, I don't know, Space Invaders 3, 4, I remember that sort of coming out. And my kids have been born into video gaming, and I think their kids will be born into video gaming. I think it becomes very much a cultural sort of thing, really, that I'm teaching generations of students now where they have done nothing but gaming. It's been a huge part of their lives. Where go back, say, about 10 years when I first started the job, gaming was a little bit more sort of cult. Not many people have been brought up with it. So, but I think now that we're of a generation where it's very acceptable. In that sort of sense.
Is it possible that gaming could rival or even take over football as this nation's favourite pastime?
Again, this is another hard one. Maybe in the vast future, yes, but football's too grounded in, the world, to really get taken over yet. So maybe 100 years or something, then they might take over gaming.
Do you think it's easy for people to become addicted to video games?
Yes. Even though obsessed is a really strong word. Yes.
Easily. I can tell you that through my job. Gaming for me was kind of just a hobby until 5 years ago when I started the course, and it is an obsession now. It's like, that's all I read, it's all I look at, it's all I do in an evening pretty much. Very rarely do I watch films, which used to be my other obsession, but yeah, it is an obsession. It can be easily an obsession. It's interesting.
Because it's interesting.
Absolutely, I think it's a fascinating element. The whole fact that you can take yourself off to a world, be whatever, or enter an online game and compete in competitive matches, or even just have a mess around. I mean, I've done business meetings in Liberty City. I've had 3 friends who joined up in a game of Grand Theft Auto to discuss a film idea. We went to a virtual bar. We had a virtual drive around in cars whilst discussing the film script, and then we went off and blew the crap out of some police at the end just for kicks. Obviously, virtual police, before this is used as evidence against it. But yeah, I think it's very, there's all these different levels of gaming we should be about to explore, and I think there is an obsessive level.
Do you think that games release adrenaline like sports does?
Yes. Is that it?
Yeah, they do. I mean, if you think about it, there's a whole, just simple excitement. That's a really exciting moment of, my God, or fear. Survival horrors produce fear. That's sort of the same adrenaline as a horror film. Excitement, competitiveness, anger. I asked many gamers how many controllers they've broken. I'm sure they'll all slightly smirk and go, there's all these different levels. The other emotion of, say, beauty and things like that has been explored, but not to the same level as adrenaline, which is that natural, this is exciting, which is what games naturally do.
To hopefully understand further the nature of competition, we ask sports fans about their views and experience about the effects a competitive pastime can have on its fans. Ivor is a lifelong football fan and casual player. Peter is a professional golfer and has played in official tournaments.
How long have you liked your favourite sport?
My favourite sport, how long have I liked? 20 years now. 22 years. Wow, long time.
I've liked football all my life, from as far back as I can possibly remember.
When did you first start playing?
When I first touched golf club, I was about 9 or 10 years old. So quite young.
When did I first start playing it?
Yeah.
When I was, from what I can remember, I was about 5 or 6. I was in a football team of under 10s. Just from as far back as I remember, I've always played football.
Who do you think are more passionate about sport? The fans or the players?
Oh, I think the fans are, as far as passionate is concerned, because it just means so much to the fans. The players get paid for it, so it's kind of, at the end of the day, as much as they enjoy their sport, it's just a job. But for the fans, it's passionate because it makes them feel happy or sad depending on whether they win or lose.
Tough one, it's a mixture, that one. Probably the fans. Players are obviously passionate about it because they get to play what's potentially a hobby, but to some it's a living and a job. So probably the fans have got the edge on that one.
Do you think there is a sense of community with sports fans, or is it more of a personal thing?
No, I definitely think it's a sense of community, because you're standing next to someone that shares the same passion as you do, and that's without sharing your life. So it's something that you can share with someone else, and then just leave them to it and meet again the following Saturday or something. So yeah, I think it's a community thing.
I think it's personal passion, and obviously if they get into groups and there's a community thing kind of, but then you've got rivalries coming into it, especially if you look at football and things like that. But it has to start with the personal passion first.
Do you play any sport video games like FIFA or Grand Slam tennis?
Yeah, I used to play, well I still would if my PS2 was working. I'd play the football game on a regular basis. Yeah, it's fun, yeah, it's good. It's enjoyable because you could, it's like being the manager of the team in reality, isn't it? Because you try and get the team to win the competitions that they're probably not good enough to win in real life.
A little bit, but one, I don't have the time, and two, you don't get the same buzz.
But do you think that games fans and sports fans share a similar level of passion?
Yeah, I mean obviously if they're doing something I enjoy.
It depends on who's playing, doesn't it, or who's watching. For me personally, I don't think they do, because I think it's a simple case of playing the game's not real, but watching the game is.
It seems that after confronting the facts and avids of both pastimes, it seems that video games attract the most passionate fans. But with professional gaming become more commercialised and sports becoming a more experience centred at home, the similarities are very clear, as they are connected both by the thrill of competition.